other side of that game, Minnesota, I just, so JJ McCarthy was the third quarterback for the game. He's been practicing a little bit. Just to remind everybody, he gets hurt during the second game of the season. First, they say 2 to 4 weeks, high ankle. Now it's 4 to 6 weeks, high ankle. So it happened in week 2. We're now in week 8. Are we going to see him on Thursday night?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Carson Wentz has been admirable in filling in. I think, when you watch him, speaking of like, you don't know who's going to show up, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's up and it's down. And, he's been good when the ball is coming out of his hand quick. And it just seems like the longer he has it in his hands, the more apt we are for something destructive to happen. But I just, when you sit there and you watch Houston and Seattle on Monday night and you watch Sam Darnold and you watch the season that he's having, and you think to yourself, it would have cost us 3 years and $100 million to retain him in Minnesota. And I know they made some moves. I know they bring in Hargrave. I know they bring in Jonathan Allen. They re-signed some other guys, Aaron Jones and some other guys. But you got to be thinking there's probably some remorse over that decision that they made this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it just funny how football works? Like, to think Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold were actually in their building. And both those guys this season they're having, you're probably a little sick to your stomach. And it also makes me feel like sometimes in these kind of things, like it's the things we don't know as fans and as people watching, like, who was on the side of keeping Sam? Who was on the side of not? Yeah. There's always that in a building. And then now, what are those relationships like? What are the conversations that are being had that we don't get to be attributed to? Like, we don't get to be, a part of. Like I'm sure there's some emotions right now in that building, because the reality is nobody in that building knew what JJ McCarthy is or isn't, because of a limited time he had on the field. Right. So you're guessing no matter what. You are saying, hey, probably the same person that was against Sam or just in those conversations, whoever it is that stuck their neck out and said JJ's the guy, is definitely probably on the side of, we need to give this dude his opportunity. Because I think it'd be hard to not speak out of both sides of my mouth. I'm a big, like, you invest in a young quarterback. If you got the right situation to put him in, get him on the field, it's time. Like, every second we wait, like, what are we waiting for? Like, I think, we talk about all this sit versus not, and I think there's examples of all the above. The biggest thing is what's the consistency around the quarterback? And if we have that, like, we know this is our play caller, we know this is our head coach, we know this is our system, man, let's get him on the field and let's grow. Like, that's always my philosophy. But at the same time, when you're sitting there going, we did draft this guy, we are living in a world where is the draft compensation and the leverage now what it used to be 10, 15 years ago, where you just had to play a guy because you drafted him? Not really. So, like, could we afford to keep a Sam Darnold in our building, or at worst, a Daniel Jones, or somebody that we kind of believe that could be a backup at that time? I think that's going to be the decision, unfortunately, that's going to kind of haunt them, because I think it's crazy, Fitz. Every week I watch Sam Darnold play, and they throw the freaking next-gen stats up there, and you look at 10-plus yard throws down the field. It's like every week, regardless of winning or losing, this dude is at the top of everybody. I mean, his ability to push the football down the field, be accurate, it just fits so much into what Kevin O'Connell wants to do and what the Seattle Seahawks want to do right now. And that's really what's got to be super frustrating for them.
Well, and the other thing is, but McCarthy's younger. Well, I know he's on the rookie contract. We get that part of it, but he's 22 years old. But Sam Darnold's 28 years old. And quarterbacks are playing until they're 40 now. So how many years, what is old now as a quarterback? Certainly not 28. And, he's probably about to hit his prime right now. But I wrote down, look at a couple different categories here of quarterbacks. You've got the franchise guys, okay? And these are like the true cornerstones, the guys that you pay because they're your team's identity. And every Sunday, it starts with them under center and how you're going to do. That's a Dak Prescott, Burrow, Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford. Okay? Those are the guys that you're going to build around. You're not going to replace them. They drive not just the offense, they drive the locker room, and they drive the marketing department. But then you have what's the alternative group, right? And so these guys, I wrote down here, so these guys are usually picked in the first round. They've had success, and you can't risk starting over. So what's the alternative? So you pay them, and this is Jordan Love, I think, fits in this category where you're not sure if he's going to be able to be that franchise guy or not, but you have to pay him because what's the alternative? Trevor Lawrence, Tua, and Kyler Murray. I think all four of those fit into that category of, well, what's the alternative? We got to pay these guys. And then it's up to them. Are we going to reach newer heights with this team, or are we going to regress? And I think with a few of those guys, we're still, the verdict's out on a couple of them.
We've regressed on a few of them, but go ahead.
But they're good enough to win with, but maybe not good enough to win because of. But all of a sudden they have all those those dollars thrown at them. So the resources of who you're bringing in might be a little more limited. Then we have the redemption arc guys. We know who those guys are. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Geno makes 37.5 a year. Sam makes 33.5, and Baker makes 33.33333 repeating. So these guys, they were drafted high, they failed, but then they became good, productive quarterbacks. And it's so funny because then you don't have to pay them as much because what's the alternative group is there? You don't have to pay them as much as them because those guys were picks. They're still on their original franchise teams where these guys have been cast away. And even though two of these three guys are performing better than a lot of those guys in the what's alternative group, they won't nearly reach the amount of money that those guys will reach, which is just so funny. But this is we haven't had a middle class of NFL contracts for a while for these quarterbacks. This is the middle class for the NFL long-term contract, the Geno, the Baker, and the Sam Darnold. And then the last category is the broken but intriguing. They've got some potential. And this year it was Justin Fields, $20 million, 2-year contracts of 40 total, and Daniel Jones, 1 year, $14 million. And you don't know how it's going to work out. This was Sam Darnold when he got to Minnesota. This was Baker when he got to the Buccaneers. And now this is Daniel Jones when he gets to Indy. So the question is going to be, what category does Daniel Jones fit in next year? Is he in the $35 million a year category? Because it's really hard it's hard to jump into the other category, right? Yep. And once you've fallen down to that Sam Darnold category or Baker category, it's very hard to get back into that franchise category of money. So I say all that to say, Minnesota, we got to unleash JJ McCarthy at some point. Yep. And it's been 6 weeks, and I would love to see him get back out there. As a quarterback, sometimes it is good to sit back and watch. He played a couple games, and then he was dealt with this injury. Nobody wanted to get hurt, but you can really benefit from that, from being in the quarterback, like we've heard from Daniel Jones and all these other guys, Sam Darnold, with Kevin O'Connell and with McCown, and being taught the way they're being taught. I want to see him back on the field, and I hope they do too.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. I mean, this is as good a scenario as we've seen. I think it's the positive and the negative for JJ McCarthy's situation. We've seen so many quarterbacks come in here and play well with Kevin O'Connell that the reality is this is probably just as good a situation as you could possibly be in the NFL to be a young quarterback, because you got a guy who gets it. He gets the stress. He gets all the things, and he's going to create a clear picture for you, because even a guy like Daniel Jones is there for a hot second, talks about how amazing that taught him how to prepare. So it's like, all right, here's the situation. But in my opinion, if you're the Vikings, all right, we can't dwell on whether we made a mistake or not last offseason in keeping one of those guys in the building, mainly Sam Darnold, obviously. But we do need to know exactly what the move is next offseason. And that is, do we need to go pay for a guy to come in here and push JJ McCarthy, or at least be an option for us, because we got too much talent that we've invested in, and we got one of the best receivers in the world in Justin Jefferson. And we don't want to lose that belief in our football team, because that's the thing. We talked about this before the decision was made. When you win 14 games and then the next year you can't find a way to win with just some good, productive quarterback play, that ruins the spirit and atmosphere of just the building and their ability to think they can compete and win. And so you gotta put him out there, and you gotta let the team go, hey, we're going to build around this rookie. Let's challenge all the guys to play better around this guy, and let's go win. It almost becomes a narrative, an idea, a philosophy your team can buy into. We're going to have a young quarterback. We're going to go live with this guy and find ways to win. And the defense, the special teams, everybody around him, receivers, you're going to have to go make plays. It gives guys something else to think about rather than just winning and losing. It almost gives them a mission. And so I love it when a team says, hey, let's commit to this young guy and let's go attack the rest of the season and see what happens, because at the worst case scenario, at the end of the year, we know this is the guy, or we need to move on, because I trust that Kevin O'Connell, I think he knows the answer one way or another. And by the end of the year, he's going to for sure know the answer. And so I would rather worry about, and if I was the owner or the GM or anybody, I'd say, hey, KOC, whatever you think the best decision, you've proven your ability to put your touch on guys, whatever you think the best decision is, ride it out the rest of the year, and then tell us where you want to go from here. I trust that he would make the right decision and know exactly what he's doing in that situation. So to me, it's get this young guy on the field and let's go see what we got. And next year, we'll make that decision when we get there.
I think that's well said. And I also think 28-year-old Sam Darnold winning 14 games last year. And
it hurts. It hurts
really
Fitz.
well in this system, and being available for $30 million a year. I think it's a decision they're going to have to live with, and they got to hope that JJ McCarthy continues to develop into the right guy.